This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
Today on Know-How,
Phones, Sims, and Gimbals.
welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Balasair.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we're going to take you through some of the stuff we've been geeking out to, so you can take it home and geek out on your own. Hippo!
Padre.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's kind of, a stormy weekend here in beautiful California.
Yeah.
But, that's not going to keep us from our appointed rounds, and our appointed rounds is to talk about phone stuff.
That's right. Before we do that, it feels a little lonely in here right now.
I know,
like last week we had that huge audience, and now we're back to the void with the chairs facing the opposite way.
It's the empty chairs. That's the representation of our audience.
Well, yeah, we were talking about Black Mirror before the show.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes, there's little avatars that people have. Like, that's what I wish we had with the chat room, was just like little avatars waving to us.
So you want me to set that up?
Could you get a holographic projection for that, so I can feel like people are watching?
No problem.
Other than
or I could just put a bunch of cardboard cutouts, basically the same thing.
That might be a little bit more creepy. Of just you.
Yeah.
Like you.
Just do what I do. When I get nervous because we don't have an audience, I imagine we have an audience, and they're all naked.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Okay, let's instead talk about phones. Now, we've been wanting to do a couple of thematic episodes on phones.
Yes.
And we saw a lot of really cool phone tech at CES that we wanted to bring back.
Not just silly new cases or things like that.
Yeah, we had a good 3 or 4 CESs, especially after the iPhone first came out and got crazy popular, where half of the show was phone cases.
We did see one phone case. Or we never actually found it, but we got an ad for it. You did find it?
I did, and then I was gonna get a sample. But he's like, oh, all you got to do is sit through the presentation. I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
Oh, like one of those timeshare kind of things? Like
well,
If you finish the presentation, we'll give you $100.
Yeah, it was, and of course, it was the phone.
The Buttphone.
Buttphone.
Wasn't that what it was called? Like, it came up in my CES emails, and it was just a big picture of a butt, but it was like the most comfortable phone case you've ever had.
The pitch, you have to admit, the pitch was a little bit ingenious. It's like, can you think of anything that feels better in your hand than a butt? And it's like, a few things.
Depends on the butt.
Depends on the butt.
But it worked, because out of the million emails that I got from CES, I still remember it. Yeah.
I think that's the trick for CES press releases, which is either be really, really, really awesome and groundbreaking and genre destroying, or be horribly awful and silly, and people go, okay, I'll stop for that.
But we're not going to talk about horrible, silly cases.
No. Yeah. We're going to talk about something that you and I wish we had a while back, and that it was not the Buttphone. The ability to communicate when we were international.
Yeah, that was when. So when we went to IFA, that was my first experience traveling in a different country. That far away. I've been to Mexico once, but trying to navigate my way through Europe with the different cell networks and switching SIMs and not understanding some of the languages and trying to pop it in and out of my phone, which only has one SIM tray. Nexus 6P. I survived, clearly, but it was not an elegant experience, and it wasn't necessarily the best.
Yeah, I think as Americans, I'm talking to the Americans in the audience right now, by the way. But
all three of you.
As Americans, we get a little spoiled because we complain a lot about our cellular system, but we can literally go coast to coast, and unless you've got a super weird carrier, you can roam from one network to the next, and it's not going to cost you a lot of money.
And traveling through Europe was like going from California to Oregon, and then suddenly in Oregon I had to, resubscribe to a different network, and then my data plan came up again.
All of those things. And they're annoying because you could drive 8 hours in Europe and go through 3 countries.
Yeah.
And they all have their own systems. Or fewer. Yeah,
when I was in Luxembourg, I went to France, Luxembourg, France, Belgium, and Germany, all within like a 40-minute drive.
Well, what if, I mean, I usually buy my SIMs at the airport. But what if you could have something that you could keep in your back pocket, that it would never go bad? You could activate it when necessary. It would work in any country, give you at least the basic messaging and the ability to buy data if you needed to send data, and it only costs you $15 a year.
That's all I've ever wanted when traveling, the simplicity of that.
Oh, well, how about this? Let's go ahead and take a look at that simplicity from CES. This is Chatsim. We're a digital age and we're all tied to our phones, but what happens when you go out of the country? What happens when you go out of your service area? What happens when your smartphone becomes dumb because you're not connected? Well, you could get yourself an expensive data plan. You could make sure that you're always within range of a Wi-Fi access point, or you could get Chatsim. I'm here with Pierre, who's going to explain what Chatsim will do for the connected generation. Pierre, what is Chatsim?
Okay, we're the world's first global service provider for chat applications. Okay, what that means is that we allow you to use all your chat applications, so Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp are the two principal ones, but also if you're an Asian, WeChat, which is another billion people use WeChat, and that's now 5.3 billion people use those chat applications. So we only allow those applications to go through, but you can use them in 150 countries, okay, for a fixed price per year of $15. And for that's the text and emoji for $15 unlimited. But if you use WhatsApp and you're used to sending pictures, or you like sending video clips or making VoIP calls within the app, then we activate multimedia on your SIM, and for another $15 we sell you 2,000 credits. So you send a picture, it's about 4 credits. You make a small VoIP call of 30 seconds, it's about 4 or 5 credits. So basically you can then just use your chat applications like you're used to using them in 150 countries without changing your SIM card.
I can't tell you how impressed I am with this solution, because we are accustomed in the United States of being able to go coast to coast, and you can always use your phone, your service. There's enough partnerships that you're going to be able to use one cell tower and another cell tower to get back to your provider. But once you go overseas, all bets are off. In fact, in the last 6 months, I've been in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Asia, and it's sometimes tricky because you get that ominous text from your provider saying, warning, you're roaming, it's going to charge you 65 cents per text or $15 a minute. If I have a SIM that I know I'm covered, that takes all the guesswork out.
It's not only that, but we did a lot of experimenting before we launched the product, okay? And when you're roaming, 90% of the data is used by the background apps. So you're paying a huge amount of money for the data, and guess who's using it? Google, Facebook, to talk to their servers, to talk to their ads, right? And you're paying for that through the nose. So we block all that. So that's one of the things we do, is we block 90% of the background data, so only these applications get through, the chat applications get through. That makes a huge difference. That's why we can get the price point where it is.
One of the things I'm looking forward to is I have a dual SIM phone, and I use that because I always keep my original SIM and then I put the SIM from the international carrier, and that's always just for text, because I don't do any of the data-heavy functions when I'm overseas. If I have a chat SIM in there, I can actually tell my phone, this is a OnePlus 3T, use that SIM just for chat, just for these messages, don't use it for anything else, and that makes my device so much more useful.
Well, we do, I mean, one of the cases we've done is through a lot of Asia, a lot of Asian phones are now dual SIM phones. And we think that's a move which will actually come to the US. If you say to someone here, dual SIM phone, they look at you and say, why do I need a dual SIM phone? In Asia, they understand this. In Europe, they understand this more and more. But the Asians are having trouble selling their dual SIM phones here for exactly that reason. So we've done a deal with some of the Asians where they actually they insert a chat SIM in that second slot, and they sell the phone to you as a world phone. So it's exactly that thing. So they say, hey, here's a phone you can use in 150 countries. You know, that's a different proposition than saying, buy a dual SIM phone.
And because it's only $15 a year, it's really something you should kind of keep in your pack anyways if you're going to be traveling internationally. Oh, can you please tell the folks, if they're at home thinking, that's something I should get, or that's something I'd like to put in an old phone just so I have a dedicated chat machine, where should they go? Okay,
well, this is what you get, and you buy it on Amazon in the US. So if you're on Amazon Prime, it arrives in 24 hours. That's $30, and that's the SIM card, which is a one-time purchase of $15. See the SIM card there, which is pre-punched for all the phones. You don't need to worry about it not fitting into your phone. Okay, and then the first year of text and emoji is included, unlimited. and then you activate it. You go online, you activate it, and then if you want to add multimedia, and about 70% of the people do act the multimedia, and then it's done. Then literally you have it. You get on the plane and you're going to, I don't know, Australia or Bangkok or somewhere nice and exotic, hopefully, or it could be Canada. That's pretty exotic too, you know. And you just in the plane, you pull one SIM out, put the new SIM in, and it lands. And already when you land, you'll be able to get off the plane, open your WhatsApp, and say, "Hey, Mom, I've arrived." You know.
Pierre, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your tech. We're going to try out Chatsim, and we're going to let you know exactly how it works on Twit TV. Folks, you could overpay, you could get overpromised, or you could just chat.
I know I'm going to get people who ask me what that last thing was. That's actually a speaker. Just
That's right. Yeah, we were on our way out of the center, and then you're like, "Ooh, what's that?"
It's floating. It's
and we spent like 30 minutes there just playing with the little disc.
I might have broken one.
You know what? You broke one, but then you were able to get it to work again.
I fixed it. So
it was half the battle.
Yeah, you know, it's okay. But actually, this Chatsim idea, I really, really like. I think what enables it for me is the fact that it won't expire. It doesn't start. Your year doesn't start until you actually use it. So this is something that you could keep in your backpack when you're traveling. Yeah. And it's the emergency thing. I mean, I normally buy a SIM at the airport, but there are certain places like Italy. Traveler's tip, if you ever go to Italy, do not buy the SIM at the airport. If you buy it at the airport, they're going to charge you like $250 for a SIM that will cost you €5 outside of the airport.
Yeah. Well, and I always think this is a great gift idea. If someone you know is traveling and you want to be sure to be able to stay in contact with them, throw one in their bag and have.
Precisely. And the kit, it's actually, if you go to the overhead, this is what it looks like. So everyone knows what this looks like. This is how you typically get your SIM. It's in this little thing. You can break out the size that you need, and then you just put it in your phone. So as long as you've got this, and as long as you've got a phone that accepts SIMs, sorry, people with Verizon phones that are locked down that don't have SIM trays, this will work just fine. And the cool thing about this is, yes, this is how it should work, right? I mean, I'm not going to chat. I'm not going to talk on my international phone. I'm always going to be sending messages. Now, I will say, one thing is you can't use the messaging client that you might be used to. So it doesn't work with Google Hangouts yet, which is what I use. It won't work with iMessage. You have to use one of the apps that like WhatsApp. WhatsApp is on here.
Right.
Which actually I would use when I'm international anyway.
When I'm traveling, that's exactly what I used. And so I have, it's an unlocked 6P that I use on the Verizon network. And what happened to me is that when I was using Verizon, they gave me 100 megabytes of data. And then they're like, oh, you get 100 minutes of voice, like, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 text messages. Never used any of the voice stuff, maybe sent like 1 or 2 texts. It was all the data that I needed to be able to use maps and things like that when I didn't have Wi-Fi. And 100 megabytes, that's nothing.
Not a lot. That's just emails.
Well, I accidentally left Snapchat on once, and it was like 60 megabytes. That was more than half of what I had when I was in Germany.
And that's the other thing I like about this versus trying to use, say, my SIM from the United States with a plan. If you use this, there's no risk of that because you've paid for it. It's not going to let you get data that you're going to have to pay for later on.
Right.
You can use this to buy data. You can buy data plans. I think they have a $15, like a $37.50, and then a $75 plan that will get you a certain amount of data so you can send messages from your regular clients.
Right.
Some people are going to probably do that. But the way I see this is my emergency measure. This for $15, this is an absolute necessity for peace of mind when I'm traveling internationally.
Yeah, throw it in your go bag too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But can you use it in conjunction with another SIM?
That's a very good question. And for that answer, you're going to have to look at a different kind of phone, which, congratulations, Brian, you guessed our next segment.
How did I do that?
I don't know. It's almost as if there's a document in front of us that we can both read.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, of course, I did promise you a review of this. This is the OnePlus 3T. I got this before CES, and I've been using it for a good month and a half now. It's, it's the evolution of phones from a company that really caused a lot of disruption. Now, if you don't know OnePlus, it means that you haven't been paying attention to Android. They came out with the OnePlus One way back when.
It was supposed to be a flagship killer.
It was a flagship killer, and it was, in a lot of ways it was, and in a lot of ways it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't the highest spec device ever, but the pricing was amazing. At a time when people were charging $600, $800, $1,000 for a phone, you could get the OnePlus for, $500, $600. Now this is the 3T. This goes for about $430, or starts at $430, $440, and then goes up if you want to get the 128 gigabyte module. But I mean, for that price, you get an incredible processor, you get an incredible screen, and you get something that I really, really enjoy. So let's go through some of the finer points. Let's talk a little bit about the screen and the performance. So when you've got the OnePlus 3, you got to know that this is a 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080, 401 ppi 16:9 AMOLED screen. Now it uses Gorilla Glass floor, so it's very scratch resistant, very durable. It's a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 821. That's the fastest processor currently out. There were some faster ones that were announced at CES, but they're not in widespread release yet. This is actually I got the 128 gigabyte model. You've got a 64 gigabyte model, which is the basic. That's the one that goes for $440. 6 gigabytes of LPDDR4 memory, and it's running Oxygen OS. This one has updated to Nougat, which I like because the updates on this are much faster than I got when I was rocking my OnePlus One.
Okay.
I typically got those updates like 6 months after. This was pretty immediate. So kudos to OnePlus for pushing that.
Right, and you have used a few other phones. The most recent phone you used was the Samsung S7, right?
Yes.
And you're an Android guy.
I'm an Android guy.
And so this has succeeded the S7? Yeah?
I mean, it's a hard call because the S7 is a really, really good phone. I would probably give the S7 the edge in screen. The S7 is a little nicer screen. This actually feels faster. It feels snappier. I like what they did with the UI. And then the price, the cost, that's all to the OnePlus. I mean, OnePlus has, basically, if I had to choose between the two and I was paying for it, I would go with the 3T every time.
Okay. Well, then the other question I have is battery life.
We'll get to that. Okay.
Let's
talk a bit more about go to the overhead. Now, this thing, I mean, with that processor, with that amount of memory, it's super, super snappy. I mean, I never felt like this thing was lagging. I always felt as if it had plenty of memory for me to do what I wanted to do. That
screen looks pretty good to me.
It is pretty. I mean, yeah, you could nitpick and you can say it's only 1920 by 1080, but you can't. I mean, if I would have put this right next to the S7, maybe if I was doing some photo stuff, I might notice, but most of the time, no, absolutely not.
I mean, this is it next to the Nexus 6P, my filthy Nexus 6P.
Right, and see, I mean, like the colors on yours look a tiny bit more vibrant. I mean, I think the screen technology on yours is slightly different, but again, we're talking about a pretty big price difference. Ooh, look at that.
That does look snappy. And how camera and everything nice?
We're getting to that.
I keep jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's talk a little bit about the styling.
Okay, styling.
I did like the original OnePlus One. I like this even more. We're talking something that's super thin, super light, 152 millimeters by 75 millimeters by just over 7 millimeters thick. It weighs under 160 grams. It's not a bezel-less design. It's not the thinnest or the lightest phone in its class. But it looks really, really good. And it's got USB-C, which this is the first phone I've actually owned that has USB-C, and it does make a difference. That's absolutely awesome. You get decent sound from the speakers at the bottom. In fact, it's quite loud for such a small grill. And I'm a fan of this. This is a physical 3-position sound switch. So from full sound to like vibrate only to silent.
Oh, cool.
I like that. I like a physical switch, not a software switch, because it gives me the ability to sort of like reach into my pocket and just check the position real quick. Just, oh yeah, okay, it's silent.
Nice. Well, and then none of this phone feels cheap.
No.
Like it's all aluminum or metal design, and the buttons feel nice. Like,
unlike the OnePlus One. The OnePlus One, I liked it, but you could look at it and go, okay, I can see where they
cut
save
corners.
Costs. Yeah. This one, you look at it, you're like, no, Samsung could have released this. I mean,
yeah.
It's got that beautiful molded aluminum back. It's not bezel-less, but it doesn't feel like the screen is popping out from the unit like it did with the OnePlus One.
Right.
And yeah, they did a really, really good job. Of course, this is just an improvement on the OnePlus 3. This is the 3T gives a faster processor.
So this is like the S version.
Yeah,
like if
it's
you
oh, you got
like,
a 3? Oh, I got a 3T.
T,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go on from that. Let's talk a little bit about what you wanted to talk about, which was the battery. Now, the battery is a 3,400 milliamp hour monster. It does dash charging, which is the difference between 20 watts and 5 watts for standard USB.
Wow.
It charges really, really fast. That gives me the ability to do, I think, get 10% of my power back with 5 minutes of it being plugged back.
That's crazy.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Now, let me tell you how this has evolved. When I first got this, when we were using this at CES, battery life wasn't great. You heard me complaining a little bit. I was playing a little too much Pokemon Go. That probably drained the battery.
That app, out of anything, uses everything that will drain the battery.
Right. I was getting about 8 hours. 8 hours before I hit about 20% battery life.
While playing Pokemon Go.
While playing Pokemon Go.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but I mean, it wasn't great.
My 6P was dying, and I wasn't playing Pokemon Go.
Okay. And also it had to do with the environment. It was CES is very loud. It's very noisy, which means all the radios are turned up to their full power, so it's going to be draining more power from the battery. And I recognize that, but I was still a little bit disappointed because I was running it side by side with my OnePlus 1. And remember, that's 3 years old. The battery in that wasn't great anymore, and it was outlasting the 3T, and I couldn't understand it until I got the upgrade to Nougat. So when it upgraded to Nougat, it completely different. We've got a couple of screenshots here. I mean, look at this. It's been running 18 hours. It thinks it can run for another day and 9 hours, and it's at 65%. That's a full day.
Wow.
And I'm down to 65%. Look, and then it continues. So I thought maybe that was a fluke. But like in this next one, I was at 56% after 14 hours, and this was a Pokemon day. So I was playing a lot of Pokemon Go. And we've got one more here, 75%. It thinks it's got 2 days left.
Wow.
And
then the real world application, did it last about that long? Was it correct?
It did, and that was the amazing part. I mean, I would get to the end of a day and there'd be 75% left, and I'm thinking, did I leave my phone on the charger? And I look at the usage time, like, no, it's been in my pocket the whole day. Oh, wow.
Well, you see, Padre, with the Nougat upgrade, it actually pulls in energy from the outside world through radio waves and powers itself.
Some people will actually believe that, Brian. It's like, it uses the NFC chipset to pull in radio waves and recharge them. No. It's just, I think, along with the Nougat update, because there was also a firmware update that went along with this. OnePlus didn't answer me when I asked them. I'm like, is this a Magic 3T? What happened? I thought maybe it's miscalibrated. Maybe I need to run it all the way down so it can recalibrate.
Yeah.
I got a better explanation from one of their engineers who commented off the record, which I'm now bringing onto the record. But basically, they've tuned it to be smarter about when it uses its radios. And that completely makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
We actually have a problem here in this building because our signal is so bad once you get away from the front door.
Yes.
That most of the time I put my phone into airplane mode, because if I didn't, I'd be at 10% power half a day.
Yep, I've actually gotten in the habit of bringing my phone charger with me, just in case. I only have one, so I have to always unplug it from my nightstand, throw it in my backpack, and then bring it with me to work, just in case. Because there are occasions where I don't know if it's just where I put the phone and it's trying to get a connection and it starts to drain the battery, or there's like a rogue app sometimes that will drain the battery. But every once in a while I'll come back to it and it's like 30% gone. What the heck happened?
I think Nougat really did add some very good power-saving features under the hood. I got to research it more. All I know is that I was doing 8 hours before, and now I'm doing a day and a half, 2 days, which that's actually pretty good.
That is my biggest complaint with most phones is they're getting thinner, but the battery isn't getting any bigger, and they're more powerful, and that just means they drain the battery faster. And that's why I stopped playing Pokemon Go.
Let's go ahead and talk about some of the specs and features other than that. There are a couple of things, intangibles, that I really love. The fingerprint sensor, again, first phone that I've actually owned that has one of these, and it works so well. It's tied to my banking. It's tied to my PayPal. I love it. It works. It's so easy to get in now with strong authentication.
Is it pretty quick too?
Super quick. Here, let me turn this thing off. Okay, I'm gonna, actually here, the way I normally do it is, so you double tap to open up the screen, just a finger down, it's in.
Oh, let's do a little speed test.
Oh, okay, all right.
So next to 6P, it's on the back.
All right. Oh, you have to lift up your phone.
I do. I can't set it.
Okay, ready? Go. Oh, hi.
It's pretty close.
Except yours was already on and you were already holding it.
Whatever, man.
Whatever. Now, okay, now let's go back to the specs and features. I do like the fingerprint sensor, but it's also got 8211 ABGN AC, Bluetooth 4.2. I'm very happy with the wireless connectivity. It did really, really well. Also has NFC, which they didn't have in the OnePlus 2. They took it away, brought it back into 3. It works really well.
Good.
And that USB-C and combo audio port. I think it rounds out the package. There's not anything here that I'm really missing. I think they have all the essentials. And yes, thank you for putting that audio port because
I was gonna say like those are disappearing. Those are a dying breed right now.
Although, you know, I almost wasn't able to use it because someone ripped the audio jack out of my car.
That wasn't. That was completely intentional. I wanted you to have a project while I was gone.
Yeah.
And it worked, right?
But also something else that I really love is the dual nano SIM. Yeah. This is fantastic. Folks, if you have a phone that doesn't have dual SIM capability, get one. It makes a difference. Now, what I'm using it for is I actually have a chat SIM in my second slot, which allows me, if I need to I don't even have to carry the SIM anymore. It's already in my phone. I just activate it.
Right.
This gives you a menu. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. This gives you a menu, a way when you go into SIM and network. I can tell it what to use SIM 1 and SIM 2 for. I've actually disabled SIM 2 right now.
Right.
So I can say, hey, you know what? Send all the voice over SIM 1, send all the data over SIM 2.
That is like the perfect travel phone then.
Yeah. And actually, it's really, really cool if you're using a T-Mobile prepaid plan because they've got 2 plans in T-Mobile, or at least they used to. One was like unlimited data and it was $15 a month. And one was unlimited voice, and it was like $15 a month.
But you couldn't do both.
You couldn't. If you tried to put them both, they charged you like $60 a month. It's like, but now you could actually get 2 SIMs, put them both in, and say, send all the voice to this one, send all the data to that one. I mean, yay, win.
That is nice. I like that idea.
Pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about the thing that I really like or dislike about this phone, depending on when I'm filming. That's the camera. Really well done, front and rear. We're talking about the Sony IMX298 sensor, 16 megapixels, 4K at 30 frames per second, 720 at 120 frames per second. It looks good. I mean, it's got good color saturation. It has both optical and electronic image stabilization, so my shots are a lot more steady than they would be if it was just me. I mean, they did it right. And what I love is you've got the same sensor on the front or the back. Oh, by the way, that's the gun from Psycho-Pass.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about this.
Have you watched that? You got to watch that series.
I have not seen it.
The
gun looks cool.
That's in what do they call it? Like, not disintegration, but that's in decomposition mode. Basically, it totally destroys your target.
So you like basically, you disintegrate.
Yeah.
It's like setting the phaser to kill.
To cook.
To cook.
So in this case, it's just to cook. But so it does look good. And actually, even the photos look really, really, well, so much better than what I'm used to getting from Android. And if you go ahead and flip through a couple of those, it works well at night. You're not getting a whole lot of grain added. You know, you can mess with depth of field. They actually do have those controls built in, so I can do things like, you know, make it shallow, make it deep. Go ahead and flip through this. That's my dad. He's a little strange.
What a character.
He is kind of strange. But I mean, you know, it doesn't blur like I used to get. Those shots look really, really well done. It's automatic HDR. I don't even have to set it for HDR. It's just going to do it. You know, and again, I love the low light. I love what it can do with contrast. They did this one right. The photos are so much better than what I got on the OnePlus. That's what happens when we're in the
Is that
morning.
the front-facing camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right? So the front-facing looks as good as the rear-facing camera. So yes, photos, good. Videos, also pretty good. However, there is one issue.
Okay, what is it? Because right now, there doesn't seem to be any cons.
Yeah, go ahead and run this one, Alex. This has an issue with refocusing, especially in low light. It's under video problems. This should be number 6. Now, what I noticed was, especially at night, if you watch this video long enough, you're going to see how the focus keeps coming in and out.
Yeah, it looks wobbly.
It shouldn't be doing that. In fact, there is a control to lock focus, but it doesn't always work. Like I had my right now, I've got my finger on the lock focus button, and it keeps refocusing.
Oh yeah.
See, there you go. You can see it again. It doesn't seem like a big problem. It only happens every once in a while. But I mean, if I'm shooting at night, I can almost count on it happening, and I don't like that. That really bothers me.
That is a little disappointing, but it also seems like maybe they could fix that through software.
Precisely, because with the Nougat update, I've noticed that it happens less, but it still does happen. So the sensor's fine, the hardware's fine. I'm thinking they need to tweak the software, or at least
give you manual control.
Give me complete manual control and make it easy. Don't make me dig through like 5 layers of menus to get it. Like put it right up there, so when I push the screen, I can lock in focus near or far. That's already there. That already exists, but I have to go through the menus.
Yeah.
If you know you've got that problem, go ahead and at least give me the option to turn it on at the beginning.
Wow. Well, other than that, though, are there any other cons?
Well, no. Well, not really. I mean, the migration is fantastic. I got to talk about this because I really enjoyed this. You know how it can be a pain to move from one phone to the next?
Yeah.
They kind of fixed that. So this is their tap and go feature. Migration from one phone is this simple. You tap the NFC. Boom, there you go. So, and it's going to go ahead and start transferring over all your settings, all your credentials. Now, the cool thing about this is, if you've got someone who doesn't know a lot about phones, as long as they've got 2 phones that do NFC, and especially if they've got another OnePlus, it transfers everything over.
That is
immediately.
Slick.
I love that. That's even better than Google's way of uploading it to the cloud and then bringing it back down.
That was cool. Yeah. But I guess, what was it? The OnePlus 2 didn't have NFC?
Yeah, which is kind of weird. But,
so that sucks.
Thank you for bringing that back. On the con side, it's USB 2 over USB-C, which I would have preferred 3 because I do transfer files on this. I don't know why they didn't just jump it up to the USB 3.
It seems a little strange.
It's a little strange. The camera refocusing problem is an issue. And there is, to be fair, there is a little bit of system instability. It doesn't happen, but every once in a while, the phone will just
like freeze?
Yeah, like I have to restart, like hard reset.
Whoa.
It's only happened twice in like the 6 weeks that I've had it, but it has happened. I think I got to bring that up. I thought maybe the update to Nougat would have fixed that, but it happened once when it was on the old OS and once on Nougat. So just know that.
Okay, well then, so the last question I have, which sometimes is overlooked when we're talking about all the new hardware on phones and stuff, how is it as a phone? Like when you make an actual phone call, is the speaker good voice quality?
I should mention that because this does, if you notice up here, this little icon, that's VoLTE, voice over LTE. Sounds so much better. Now, if you've been on T-Mobile for a while, you've had the option, but you have to have a phone that supports it. Now that I have a phone that supports it,
big difference?
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize what I was missing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the person on the other side, they also have to have it, otherwise it's not going to help.
Right.
But when you do have 2 people who are using voice over LTE, especially if you're on the same network, it's,
Because sometimes that's my most disappointing thing about a new phone is that it's got all these great features, the camera's perfect and stuff, and then you make a phone call and it still sounds like a walkie-talkie. But I'm on Verizon. I don't know. They're not the best.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it's clear because I did spend my money on this. I actually bought this. This is the OnePlus 3T.
440?
$440. I mean, if you're looking for a new phone, if you don't want to pay $800, if you want something that's off contract so you can do what you want to do with your provider, I don't know if there's a better buy on the market. I mean, yes, and I've looked at the ones from Lenovo, I've looked at the ones from Huawei. Those are all pretty good. This is just a little bit better.
Does seem pretty sweet. And with the dual SIM and everything, a great travel phone, I'd be tempted.
Yeah. Well, you've got a good one right now. But wait for the OnePlus 5 or whatever when that's old.
When this is old. I'm still pretty happy with the 6P. I don't think there's a phone out right now that I would go out and buy just to get rid of this. But
like if it were to break, like if it were to get, not work anymore, you'd probably have to get back.
I noticed you're not running a case on yours either. Do you have one?
I do have one, but it looks so nice without the case.
It does. But I would...
No, I'm going to put a case on it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, folks, this is the phone episode, so we can't just talk about phones and Sims. We wanted to bring you an accessory from CES that we really enjoyed. We were walking through the sands on it's our day off. It was our day off. We weren't actually working for TWiD.
We were just looking for cool stuff.
We were just looking for cool stuff, and we found it at Feiyu Tech.
Just because you're recording video with your phone, it doesn't mean it has to look like it's coming from your phone. Here at Feiyu Tech, they've got this fantastic powered gimbal. Now, yes, it's going to keep everything steady. In fact, you're going to be able to flip to the footage right now and see how smooth the video is as I hold it. It will go through 3 different axes, keeping it exactly where it needs to be pointed. But just like another more expensive unit from another company, it also allows me to use the thumb switch to reposition the camera up and down, pan and tilt as necessary. Now, you're going to love this. Not only does it have the unit in this wonderfully ergonomically shaped, and I have to say actually quite stylish unit, but the bottom tines will retract or come out to form a tripod. So if you've got one of those other expensive units and you're always wondering where to put it, don't worry, because the unit's got its own stand. Now, here's the biggest point for all of you out there who have been looking for a product like this, but have maybe not pulled the trigger. The MSRP on this is under $240. That's right. If you're looking for a way to have a long-lived gimbal, something that gives you those smooth shots, something that will put you on par with a much larger, much more capable filming system, then you need to take a look at Feiyu Tech.
That thing was actually really, really well made.
It was.
I mean, remember when we tried doing our homemade one? It kind of worked, but the parts actually would have been more expensive than buying that.
Right. And when we were doing that project, it was more of like learning about it and understanding how it works.
I think the science has moved forward a little bit since we put one out of PVC pipe and a reconditioned quadcopter.
Yeah, but it was fun to watch it go out of control, and lose its mind.
Not going to do that.
No.
I do like that switch mode, by the way. Recognizing that sometimes you're going to want to be vertical and sometimes you're going to want to be horizontal.
Right.
And they just have that one button and it will flip modes back and forth. So they did think this through, which is nice because I don't want it to feel like it was just a quadcopter gimbal that someone put on a battery stick. This is actually a camera gimbal.
Right.
And it works really, really well. I mean, and at that price point, again, I'm not going to call it any other company, but there is another company that makes something very, very similar, and their stuff costs twice as much.
You're paying for the brand name, but we're not going to mention what that is.
We will.
But I mean, with cameras that are coming out on phones that will do 4K, like you were showing earlier with this phone, like it does make a difference when you have the stabilizer and you can do those sweet like pans and things like that. So you can go on a vacation, take those 2 things, and get video that looks much more professional.
It used to be that when I went on vacation, I would always bring one very nice camera, and that normally meant I had to, it was at least this big, and it would do 4K, but it looked nice. I felt better having that versus the little point and shoots or the camera phone.
Right.
The camera phones have gotten to the point, like especially on this 3T, where I can shoot 4K at high frame rate, and it looks good. And if I have it on a gimbal, it will actually look better than it would on my little prosumer camera.
Yeah, well, when we were at IFA, I brought my DSLR with me on that trip. I didn't touch it once.
Nope.
I only used the 6P to take pictures and video.
So that's what the future is, Brian. Just everyone with camera phones.
They look good though.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's the end of this phone episode. We're going to do this again. We've got a couple of other accessories that we want to bring out, and we've got a couple other phones that we might want you to take a look at. Speaking of Huawei and Lenovo and all those others. But we know that this was a lot of information. We want to make it easy for you to get links to all the companies we covered, from Chatsim to Feiyu Tech to OnePlus. You can find that all at our show notes, where do we keep those, Brian?
twit.tv/KH. And not only will you find the show notes, but you'll find all our prior episodes and a way to subscribe or download.
Indeed. Now, don't forget that we're also on the socials. That's a thing, right?
All the kids are on the socials today.
Specifically, you can find us on Google+. Just go to Google+, look for Know-How, and request admittance to our community. Yes, there is a little acceptance policy, but that's just because we want to keep out all the spam accounts. Again, just go ahead and go to Google+, look for Know-How, and once you're in there, you get access to almost 11,000 know-it-alls. These are people at all spots of their maker DIY journey, from experts to noobs to people who are intermediate. Come and ask questions, come and answer questions, and post pictures of your projects. We'll use them on our next feedback here on Know How.
That's right, but you won't find us just on Google+. If you want to contact us directly or see what we're doing when we're not on Know How, or sometimes we post pre-photos of what projects we're working on that are coming up in a future episode. You want to follow us on Twitter. I am at cranky_hippo.
And you're going to find me at PadreSJ. And we've got a third member of our group.
Alex Gimbal.
Alex Gimbal.
He's super steady.
Super steady even.
No matter how many martinis he has.
But you're going to find him at ANELF3 at Twitter. That's twitter.com/ANELF3.
Excuse me, Padre. That's pronounced Gumpel.
I always get that wrong.
No, Gumpels don't hold things steady.
No, we don't.
No, they're grumples.
Until next time, I am Father Robert Balacer.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go get a new phone. Make it the 3T, maybe.